kind of started off with about 5-6 people. And we started off in my backyard, and then it moved to my driveway because about 20 plus people started showing up.
Welcome to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, a podcast about the language and tools that help to create a culture of intentional discipleship in your church. We are excited that you're joining us today and hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the D3 Discipleship Podcast. My name is Ray, and alongside me is my co-host, Katie Ketzner, and we have a guest today, but we'll get to that in a moment. Oh, keeping you on the fence there. But yeah, it's been a while, Katie.
Yeah, we ended our last season back in December and took a little Christmas holiday break, and
We did.
we're back at it.
Yep. And here we are.
Yeah,
We're
let's
picking up where we left off.
See if we've forgotten it all, or
That's exactly right. That's
all
exactly
brand
right.
new.
Yes. And so we do have a guest with us today. We have Doug Rushing with us. How are you?
I'm good. How long do I wait for the applause for the people clapping?
I'll
waiting.
work it in post.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll clap.
Thank you. But
Yes.
doing great. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. And we're going to be talking about, so Doug is, his group is moving into phase 3. And so we're going to be chatting about that and excited about what you have to share and all that fun stuff. So, Katie,
Yeah,
are you ready?
I think so.
All right. Doug, you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So we have been, again, walking through the pathway. We started with phase 1 and stories and all that. Had some folks on that were talking about that, as well as starting a group. Then we moved into abiding, and then we moved into phase 2 and transformation. Had a couple guests and different things like that. And so today, Doug and his group are currently kind of making that turn of they're going to be doing their out soon and kind of getting that in order, and then also stepping into phase 3, right? And so
Which that seems. When did you
yeah.
start?
It's actually been right at a year right now.
that's
Stop.
wild.
Just short of a year, but right at a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it'd been like a couple months. I was like, man,
Doug-
maybe we should talk about.
Doug's cranking through. Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
just trying to get through it, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Listen,
Yeah.
You don't even want to know what he was saying before we started.
Oh, no. We won't throw him under the bus. We won't throw him.
I was going to say, he should be an example of what not to do, but
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Katie likes picking on me. She's
Yes.
like an older brother to me.
Yes,
right?
these
So
two
she
are
likes-
like brother and sister, and their banter and picking on each other. The brother or sister you never wanted, right? And never asked for. Yeah,
That's fine.
but there they are. No.
Anyways,
Anyway, all that.
moving on to
Yes.
the third phase.
Correct.
So let's rewind all the way back to the beginning.
Yes.
How did you go about picking your co-leader?
Ooh.
Start there.
Yeah.
So my co-leader is Jake Nairn. So
Yeah.
he was actually the very first person that I deployed and discipled everything through.
Cool.
So it was just one-on-one and just the season of life that I was in. So he got baptized at old Shawnee days. Like he was kind of moved from atheist to
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
And then he was just red hot on fire. And so me and him, and then just kind of my life was a little different back then. And so me and him one-on-one, and it lasted about a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
That group, just because of everything going on, got through with him, and I was like, all right, let's do the next one, because I'm always just kind of just wanting to go. Like, if
Yeah.
we're gonna do it, let's do it big.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna do something that I like doing. I very much enjoy smoking cigars.
Yes.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have people over to have cigars.
Yeah.
So it kind of started off with about 5-6 people. And we started off in my backyard, and then it moved to my driveway because about 20 plus people started showing up.
Wow.
Yeah. It kind of went a little crazy, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Could you say it caught fire? Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
That was a dad joke. Wow.
Oh, that was not
A
good.
dad or a bad joke. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So Jake is very, very introverted.
Okay.
And so it's kind of hard for him just to kind of go up to random people or kind of build the relationships and
Yeah.
that. So he came to the fire, or I called it a fireside. We
Sure.
came to the fireside, and he kind of sat next to me, and he did help talk and kind of go through the process. But the fireside lasted really about a year.
So you said that from your group of 20-ish people who were attending Fireside, that you asked 2 people to be in your D group. How did that go about? Like, why only 2 out of that many people?
Great question. It was just one of those things where somebody was put on my heart, and that's kind of one of the people I built a relationship with. So I personally asked one person in, and Jake had one person that he felt led to ask in. And then there was nothing else. It wasn't like there was nobody else kind of screaming on our hearts to be able to invite into the group.
You also said earlier that like a lot of the people in your group were already released disciples. That probably cut down the group quite a bit, no?
Yes. So there were a lot of released disciples in there, and there were other people also fishing for People of Peace also. Yeah. And so like I think at least one group got started out of relationships built there. And then of course relationships just kind of in the hallways of being able to know people's names there. But yeah, it was just the 2 people that were able to grab. And it was the 2 people that don't smoke cigars.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think that the thing I love about that is the way that you used that city group to like get to know people and built that out. And then use that as kind of a segue. And I think that's something we're kind of working through and struggling with at our campus is connection points for guys. We did Fireside, and all those people actually are now in discipleship. So it worked. It did what it's supposed to do. But now it's, okay, there's this next set of people who are not, were not engaged in Fireside, but also are obviously not engaged in discipleship. So it's like, okay, how do we now find another thing? So what I love is you found something you were already connecting to people with through cigars. You use that to then create a city group, and then the city group became now discipling. Yep. So, I mean, that's fun.
But then also, like, the Fireside is still going. Like, someone else took it over.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I just told them, get out of my driveway and go somewhere else. Because, I mean, it was the night that these guys had committed to come to the city group. And so, all right, that's the night we need to do it. And cigar group kind of goes to the side. But, yeah, another group, released disciple, he ended up taking it to his house. And, you know, I think they share it between a couple houses now. But they continued on.
Cool.
Having it just to be able to build a relationship and looking for the next People of Peace.
Yeah.
So I like that idea of having something just general that a group of people can connect on.
Right.
Taking smaller groups out of that, but still continuing the whole.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a snowball, but then you're losing some snow and gaining some snow, whatever.
Yeah.
But like you just keep going and adding
evolving.
more people and taking away, adding more. It's just this thing that just continues. I like that idea.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Bible studies or book studies, because those have an ending at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like just kind of an open general place for people to gather and make community. Like, you know, here we are 3 years out of COVID, which is crazy. Yeah, and so from there, people starving for community, looking for people to connect with. Like, how do we do that? How do we give them that? And then, take it this step further into discipleship. Like,
And some people take longer to build relationships and community. So I think that's good for them that they have a little bit longer of an on-ramp into discipleship because they're still becoming vulnerable with the group enough to get to the point where, you know, discipleship happens.
Well, that and if they're learning how to be in a group, if they've never maybe been in a group, like with the book study, if you miss 1 week, you're kind of behind.
Right.
With a group that we're just hanging out talking about the sermon series or, you know, whatever topic maybe I've come up for that week, they know it's okay to kind of miss one, you know, kind of come 1 or 2 and then miss until they can rearrange their schedule to be able to do there. Because a lot of times I was finding guys that were brand new to, you know, they were showing up day 1.
Sure.
Like, hey, you look cool. You need to come to my Fireside group. I mean, I would just
come hang out with us. Yeah.
Anybody and everybody I was just personally inviting because it's all about that personal invite when it comes to it anyway. It's like, wow, he knows my name and he invited me to something, you know. Like I said, that's why I did have a group of a lot of cigar smokers, but a lot of non-cigar smokers also.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool.
And
yeah.
So I'm getting back into it, and
You're going to start a cigar group?
Yes. I'm one of the ones that don't smoke. But I'm starting cigars. I'm finally getting into discipleship again, but I'm starting with the city group.
Yep.
And I thought I was, you know, cool stuff because I finally figured out what I was going to do in city group, and I went with the book study. So,
well, that's all right. Get to know some people. That'd be great. Yeah. So
maybe I should rethink.
You take or have these two fellas and that you and Jacob kind of pinpoint as people of peace, right? And so then you take them into the discipling group. What did that look like as you were kind of starting out, as you started stories? Like, what did that look like?
So we just kind of started off just kind of like a new city group, right? Where we just kind of sat down. It was more intimate because you didn't have all the people kind of, you know, asking the questions or kind of bouncing around. You also, these are introverted guys, so they'll answer a question, but it's the answer of the question and end, right? And so in a big group allows other people that like talking a lot more to kind of continue on. So like I said, we would be inside, and it's more controlled. And so I knew that somebody worked at, let's say, Price Chopper.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, now what do you actually do at Price Chopper? What are your hours at Price Chopper? You know, like tell me a little bit more about your life story or, we were able to do that. And so we did that for at least a month where it was just, it was one of those things where I wanted to make sure that I was always taught like, hey, in going into a group, you're allowed to walk inside my house and you're allowed to grab anything out of my refrigerator.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that they understood that that was real.
Yeah.
I didn't want you, I'm okay with the knock, knock, come inside.
Sure.
I'm cool with that, but don't knock and wait for me to open the door. I'm just going to leave you outside. I might talk to you.
I'm not coming to answer the door.
Yeah. I'm going to sit. But I wanted to build that type of relationship with them to get us to the next level of, I would say, friendship.
Yeah.
Well,
so go ahead.
Well, this is kind of what we say, like your group can go at different paces. Like we have a way of doing it or a way we think works best. But like for Doug's group, it took a little longer to build that relationship. And like probably for you, like that's what you needed as a leader to feel your best as a leader in discipleship. So like if that's what you need as a leader also, like go for it. Build that relationship because once that relationship comes, like it's easier to lead.
Yeah.
So
get to know them a little better. And
just another reminder that like groups look differently and that's okay.
And I think like what just popped in my mind is like this image of a funnel, right? And like you totally used every aspect of the funnel to get them to the point of discipleship. Like, hey, here's this large group of Sunday morning setting. Hey, come to my cigar group, city group, then city group to disciple, like to hanging out for a little bit just to make sure they're people of peace and all that fun stuff. And then, hey, now we're doing discipleship. And so I think that's kind of fun how that like, that's the picture of moving someone from the crowd all the way to discipleship. Right. And super fun.
So what about covenants? Like when did covenants come into play? How did they go?
So like I said, we met for at least a month or so, just kind of hanging out. And then I had the covenant printed out, just kind of ready to go. Started talking to the guys and like, I wish I was selling them something because I could have sold them and made all kinds of money. But, you know, because I'm handing them the piece of paper, they're signing it without even really looking at it. And I'm kind of having to pull it back and be like, hey, guys, this is something we definitely need to pray on. Yeah. And just like, it's like I'm trying to convey how important this piece of paper is, right? And what it truly, truly means. And so gave it to the guys and said, hey, we'll talk about it next week. One guy signs it there and he's like, you know, I'm all in. The other guy was kind of not sure if he had questions and kind of he wanted to ask a little bit more, so answered his questions, and so he did finally sign the piece of paper. So it's one of those things that went pretty easy.
Cool. So you moved into covenants, then you move into stories. You're sharing your stories, and you get to abide, like, or you kind of start introducing that in stories, right? Mm-hmm. So what was the condition of your group in that area as you kind of started out?
So had a lot of people that maybe read the verse of the day or, you know, kind of on the Bible app, the quick, easy stuff, not just kind of sitting in the Word. And so we were trying to figure out where to read. I'm always a John guy. Love the book of John, and so that's where I always start everybody off at. So we're kind of reading as a group, but just super busy with work and everything else like that. And so I'm trying to think of tools. And so I started using Right Now Media. It's a tool that New City kind of provides for us. But they have a video and the leadership guides. I mean, everything is on the website. And so I think it was Tony Evans went through the book of John, and I was like, man, this is makes my life that much easier.
Right.
So I'm using all the tools I can, right?
Yeah.
And so he has some great questions. So you're able to tell your group, all right, read this, kind of here's the video. You want to pre-watch it? And then we would watch a summary video whenever they would get to my house. And then we'd go through the questionnaire that kind of had, I'd choose my own questions. It's not a printout I'd hand out to the guys, but I'd choose my questions off of there. And that's kind of how we started the actual abiding part of everything, that we're all reading the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We kind of have the same questions, but I'm also not throwing hard questions at them. They kind of know what the questions are going to be, and they could cheat and have the answers. Cause like I said, some of these guys are kind of they don't like being put on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, hey, I'm going to spoon feed it to you as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jot that down, write down right now media. I think that'd be a good one to add. So on our website, if you're a leader and you're listening and you're like, yeah, we're about to move into Abide, not sure what to do, like that Right Now Media stuff would be great. We have the Read Scripture plan and the Read Scripture app and some of those different things, but we're adding more plans for this upcoming kind of year, if you will. But that'd be a great button to have to push.
And VeggieTales.
To be able to.
And Bible Man.
Hey, love some VeggieTales, right? Like, yeah. I mean, where is my hairbrush?
I was raised on it.
Yeah.
I'm a super Christian.
The cheeseburger song's pretty good too. Not gonna lie.
That's a good one. Water Buffalo.
Ooh.
Why is that not in your top?
Yeah. Or Say Boo.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Say Boo.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
You can always learn something from VeggieTales too that you didn't know before.
Right.
No matter how old you are, it works. It happens. Yeah.
Makes me want to go watch it now.
I know, right? Yeah. Need to grab some YouTube or maybe some Right Now Media. There you go.
Okay. So you mentioned offline that you did have someone leave, which is reassuring for me to hear because, I've been finding out that, everyone has someone leave at some point.
Most groups.
During their groups.
Knock on wood. I have made it to phase 3 and I have not lost anybody out of my group, my current group.
Ray just wants to brag.
Maybe I'm just not doing it right. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. Go ahead. Sorry.
You unfortunately had someone leave. How did that look like? Like what part of what phase did they leave and why did they leave?
It was kind of in the abiding part of everything. Abiding, and we're using ninja tools on them at that point.
Sure.
And just a lot of clarifying questions, but you're ninjaing all the tools to them. And then he just randomly kind of stopped showing up all the time. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things like, hey buddy, where you at? We're kind of waiting on you. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm working out or I'm out running or something else like that.
Priorities.
Cool. You forget about group. He's like, oh no, I just figured this would be better for me. Oh. So, yeah. And so, it created conversation, cause it's very hard to have a group and we're starting to get to the intimate moments in conversations, where you're like a lot of introverted people, like they're not really sharers. And so I'm having to dig deep into pull really hard for them to kind of share. I'm being as vulnerable as I can be.
Sure.
But I don't have something vulnerable every single week. And so, you're in a smaller group setting where it's just, 4 of us, you'd be pulling it. So I didn't want somebody to share something and somebody not show up for a few weeks and then, not really, sure if they're even in the group. Right. And so it just started a conversation, me and the guy, and just, I went back to the group after a few weeks of him kind of not showing up, or he'd show up randomly, and told him like, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about what do you guys think? And we kind of had a group vote and we all agreed and kind of came to the same conclusion of why it'd probably be best for him not to join the group or, kind of be still in the group.
Continue on.
Yep. So this was a phone call I had. He didn't even want to meet up or anything else like that. It was just a quick phone call. And it's just one of those things where he's circling the mountain, the same mountains that, he's circling the exact same mountains that he was, circling for the last year in life, but he just wasn't willing to make the full commitment and kind of surrender or into just abiding into the word and just having somebody speak a little bit into his life. He wasn't willing to have that at that point. So reach out to him every once in a while right now. Don't always get a response, but who knows? He could be a person of peace later on in life, but just right now, he's not that.
Yeah. And that accountability piece, right? Like I think we were talking about a little bit ago, like the accountability of, you know, stepping into a group and having people hold you accountable to actually doing things. Most people don't like that. So there's where you also find that happens, right? So
I also like the fact that you included the rest of your group in that decision or conversation.
Yeah.
I know for me, if I were in that group and, you know, part of that conversation, it would help me realize, if I didn't already, how important this group was and like how serious of a commitment it is. So just reassures.
And in that group dynamic, they know he's not there too, right? So for you to address it and bring it up, like it's definitely
also
better than,
you don't want to make the sole decision and then everybody like, well, you know, that's when he needs you more. Whenever
he only missed 1 week. Come on, yeah, exactly, yeah, cool. So with a smaller group, you know, Abby and I have had this conversation because her group is 5 people. If it seems like if one person misses, it's always the week that they want to like teach a tool that they've been walking through or something like that. And so they, you know, they'll sometimes still meet in different things, but like how are you handling having that smaller group? What does that look like?
So early on, we kind of made a commitment to always meet. As long as there's 2 people, we're meeting.
Cool.
Right? Even if I'm not even there and they need to use my house, like, because that's where we meet, they can go to my house, give them a door code, they could go in.
Oh, cool.
But it's just we hang out. I mean, we're not learning new tools. Of course, we always do our lows and highs no matter what. But we'll sit and watch a movie. We'll just talk about life. I mean, we try to keep that. It might just be an hour sometimes versus the hour and a half, 2 hours that we would normally meet.
Sure.
But it's a friendship, right? I mean, you want to be able to keep the relationship going. And so sometimes play video games and just other times, I mean, most of the time it's just sitting there talking over a bowl of ice cream or something else like that.
Yeah.
It's just keeping the relationship and conversation going because that could also be a good time where something is kind of brought up that maybe – you're not going to fully get into that week, but you know, you kind of write your leadership notes, you know, and next week you're able to ask a lot of clarifying questions to maybe open it up a little bit more for something else like that.
Yeah. Cool. So your group's still moving along. And from there you've wrapped up phase 2, walked through transformation and tools, heading into the out and kind of phase 3. So what is that looking like in the next couple of weeks as you move ahead?
So after just really the Christmas break, we did take a break because you don't want to kind of do anything really big during those moments with having to take off. So we are back, and so we're kind of meeting, kind of a little bit of conversations going in, and then now we're like sitting in the kitchen, TV up high, and like, all right, teach us the tools, and we're all taking turns because definitely need a refresher on myself.
Yeah.
And so we are starting to do that part.
Cool.
And then we're looking at outs.
Yeah.
And so one of the outs that I want to say it's an easy out, I'm going to go ahead and call it out, is going to Harvesters, you know, at KCK. Raytown also has a really great Harvesters program also. But going out to there on a Saturday morning.
Cool.
And be able to
next week, we'll see you there.
Yep, just to be able to help out.
Just kidding.
My problem is my roommates, they need somebody to watch them while I'm going out, and I don't want to bring the roommates to.
Oh, you could totally bring them. They'd have a blast.
Yeah, then
his
I'm managing
roommates are what, 5
and 2.
They'd love it. They'd love it.
Yep, and so
we can keep them busy.
Okay, I mean, it might be one of those things where we come, but as a group, it's just fun. Like we've done it, I've done it a few times out there. Yeah. It's just great community, and it's great fun catching up with people, especially at another location. But it's just fun. Music's blasted. Like I said, I just want to push to everybody. Yeah, reach out to Ray about the KCK Harvester. Yeah, like even just you as a family, just going out and being able to do that. So, and then talk to Jacob because it's like I think it's one of the hardest things to think of an out, right? Yeah, and so I talked to Jacob and asked him like, hey, where are some outs? And he suggested the retirement community. Yeah. We have a couple elders that go out there and kind of do a service. Cool. And so me and my team are signing up, and I don't know exactly what we're going to do. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to go out there and high five people and dance, or
Sure.
I'm not going up there to talk to you, to like give a sermon or sing or anything.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of being out there and just being able to have conversation with some of these people that maybe need somebody to listen to them or be able to hang out with them. So
Yeah.
that is going to be the out. That's the out that we've signed up for.
Cool. Yeah. So our group is right there where you are, right? Like we just finished up right before Christmas, phase 2, and then we're trying to figure our out. And what we're running into is like finding what we want to do at the time we normally meet is not going to work. So it's another time that we're going to have to meet. Does that make sense? And so getting everybody there at that time that's outside of our normal meeting rhythm has been our biggest deal. Like, hey, we can go do this on Tuesday, and then, half of us can't be there or whatever. Like that's one of the big things we're running into.
Is it something that do you still have group on your day and then you go do it? Or is it something where you can change for a season to be like, okay, instead of this day, we're now meeting on this day to do outs?
So that's actually the discussion. So me and my co-leader, that's the discussion we're having this coming Sunday night is like, okay, guys, we've got to nail this down.
Yeah.
So what is that going to look like for us? Do we need to shift and just say, hey, everybody can do this night, or what? We're trying to find that. So,
That's hard.
and then on top of that, we got city groups starting and different things. So like, yeah, it's that's the hardest thing we're running into is just the time to go and do it, which I think is maybe what a lot of groups run into. Then we go, oh, well, we'll just keep moving along and not worry about it. And it's like, no, we need to do this. So that's good that you guys have found one. That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was just me asking though. Cause I mean, if it wasn't for me asking, like we could do the easy things or,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I want to be able to challenge my guys and me, right? Like, I mean, this is what the purpose of it, right? I mean, it's to be able to go out and proclaim the gospel to people and be able to share it and be able to just create those moments of having conversations about Jesus. Cause like I said, some of these guys like super not talkers, right? They're in the hallways, but they're not out there just creating conversations with people in these moments, they're going to hopefully just have those conversations and Jesus is going to be at the forefront.
There you go. Very cool.
Yeah.
You got anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think my questions are over.
Yeah. So in full transparency, we have done this twice because I forgot to plug in my computer and it only recorded a quarter of our podcast at the very beginning. And so, Doug, thank you for sticking around longer than you thought you were going to.
No
Katie, thank you for sticking around longer than you thought you were going to. And man, yeah. So again, some great things I heard you say as we were walking through this. Another resource for abiding of Right Now Media, using city groups and kind of this funnel concept to get your people a piece and getting them in your group. Be okay with having hard conversations, even if it minimizes your group, really is, but that's okay. And then also, like, if you don't have an out or an out idea, ask your campus discipling leader, and whether it's at a different campus or if it's at your campus, we'll find you something that you can do and be a part of. So, I mean, some great tidbits there that you can take as a leader and apply to your group.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway was the funnel idea.
Yeah.
Just having something big, like the fireside, just to keep going.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah. So with that, if you have any questions, feel free to send those in. D3 Discipleship. No, that's not right. D3info@newcitychurch.com, and we'll answer any questions that you have. Haven't gotten any recently, Katie. So no shout outs, right? Yeah. In addition to that, check out our YouTube page for any information. What else? We missing anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You guys did forget to ask me my favorite tool.
Oh, well done.
I listened to the podcast.
What is
Do we
your
ask
favorite?
everyone
We
that?
actually we pulled that question out because we were getting a little repetitive, so we just kind
Whoa,
of let
are
it
you
flow
stuck in
these days.
season
So,
2, Doug?
oh,
Please.
ouch! Wow, stuck in season 2. What is your favorite tool, Doug?
Mine's actually the 8 arenas.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, because
so why is that?
Everything starts there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make Jesus as Lord of all those areas of your life, and I could
There you go.
account to so many different things. But
Yeah.
since it's not important, I won't
Good
continue
job,
on.
Doug. So proud. Way to go.
Oh, well, it's been a great conversation. So thank you very much for giving up more time than you thought, and glad that you're here. And keep discipling on. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. With that, Katie.
we'll see you next time on the D3 Discipleship Podcast.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that today's information was helpful and useful for your discipling journey. We would like to encourage you to subscribe, review, and share on social media. If you would like more information, check out d3pathway.com.